Okay, so we don't really know what to think about the Belgian Grand Prix. There seemed to be so much promise that we could possibly get another winner besides Max, but it ended up being a race in which Max and Red Bull dominated again. Mercedes have slowly improved throughout the season, but at the Belgian Grand Prix, it looks like Hamilton's worst nightmare has returned. Even Toto thinks Mercedes are in deep trouble. As dominant as Max was, it looks like his teammate fired a serious warning to the Dutchman for after the summer break. Want to know what Hamilton's verdict on the new problem for the W14 is? And does Toto agree with him? And what is causing the nightmare to return? Stick around to the end, as Max may need to watch his back after Perez's latest statement. The Belgian Grand Prix looked to be the race where we could be getting another race winner other than Max. There were various factors to genuinely get us excited that P1 may be going somewhere else. Oscar's fabulous qualifying lap, a possibility of rain, and a 5-place grid penalty had us dreaming. But alas, such is Max's confidence and class that he won the Grand Prix at a canter, even having a rather entertaining radio conversation with his race engineer, even having time to tease him about the team getting in some pit stop practice. As the F1 world knows, Max and Gianpiero Lambiase have a rather interesting relationship akin to a married couple, with Max defending his radio messages. That's how we operate. I think we know each other very well from all the years we have been working together, Verstappen told Sky F1. We don't know how you saw it, but we thought it was great. Probably the biggest talking points about the whole race, but Toto saw both sides of the radio communication. Asked about whether the nature of Verstappen's radio messages could be viewed as cocky, and whether they serve as extra motivation for Mercedes as they are nowhere near able to contend with the pace of the Dutch driver, Wolff said that Verstappen has earned the right to be a bit cheeky. He has all reasons to be a bit cheeky, he told media. He's just driving everyone else around in circles, and it's on merit. But Wolff admitted that the messages were somewhat irksome. There's nothing else to say, and you've got to watch that, he said. On the one hand, as much as it is annoying, that's just about the lot. Now, speaking on Mercedes, the team had, as the youngsters would say, a meh weekend. Isn't that right, kids? It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst in the world considering how the W14 has fared this year. Hamilton crossed the line in 4th in the Belgian Grand Prix, pitting on the penultimate lap to set the fastest lap of the race while doing so, with Mercedes showing solid race pace overall. But with both Red Bull drivers and the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc further up the road, the 7-time world champion admitted that he was unable to keep up with those ahead. George finished in P6 after he revealed that his drive took a recovery element from the start, with McLaren's Oscar Piastri caught in contact with the sister Ferrari of Carlos Sainz at La Source. On the hill down towards Eau Rouge, Russell was right behind Piastri as he began to slow, causing him and others to take avoiding action as the McLaren lost momentum and eventually had to retire. Russell felt that had he not had to avoid Oscar, he could have been racing for the podium and at least a P5. It was very unfortunate at the beginning when Oscar had his failure. I went to the left, sort of misjudged that he couldn't turn, I got boxed in and lost 4 or 5 positions at the start, so that kind of dictated my race. If it wasn't for that, we would have been P5, but I would like to think I would have been up there with Lewis and Charles fighting for a podium, Russell explained. Overall, P4 and P6 are not the worst results, but there appear to be some major issues rearing their ugly heads for Mercedes. The first significant issue is that of the return of Ferrari. Many people ridiculed the prancing horse last weekend as it looked like we had yet another classic Ferrari moment and the clown faces on the Ferrari pit wall had returned. But with Leclerc showing impressive pace in both the sprint and qualifying, the Mercedes may find themselves as the 4th fastest car on the grid, something that George was very quick to point out. I think Charles was maybe the surprise for us. I don't think we anticipated them being so quick, but as I said, we're in a good place in the team's championship. That looks pretty secure for now, Russell told media. Whether we can rely on Ferrari to be consistent and fix their erratic strategy remains to be seen, but if they do so, then Mercedes may need to look over their shoulder in the second half of the season. But we won't exactly hold our breath for it. Now, probably the main issue for Mercedes is that it looks like Hamilton's worst nightmare has returned. And no, it's not the thoughts of Fernando Alonso in tight spandex. Mercedes were plagued by significant bouncing or porpoising during the 2022 season, which was the first year of F1's current technical regulations, and Hamilton said the W14 was suffering from similar levels of bouncing as Spa. I mean, it was kind of a non-eventful race. Really, there's not much going on. I wasn't able to keep up with the cars ahead of me and struggled in the beginning. Rear end is our biggest issue, and then we had the bouncing this weekend. So we're back to the bouncing like we had last year, Hamilton admitted to Sky F1 after the race. So about the Alonso thing, it was about back end, just not the back end we might have thought. When pressed further about the return of the bouncing on his car, Hamilton acknowledged it's a concern for him, and he and the team will be putting in work behind the scenes at their factory to try and find a solution, one for which he says he's praying. They don't know, and to me it's a concern, Hamilton said when asked about the team's views on how the car had been able to start bouncing again and how they can fix it. But we'll work through the data. I think we'll work through the data this week and then try and figure out what we do for the next race. I know what I want. I'm praying for it, and I'm just waiting for the day we get it, said Hamilton. Now, before you go attacking just Lewis in your number one hats, George Russell also reported the return of the dreaded bouncing phenomenon, and Hamilton said that the car bounced its way through the Austrian Grand Prix a few rounds ago. Worries about the car returning at the high-speed Belgian circuit. Many had thought we'd gotten over the dreaded porpoising and that we were now looking forward, but not the Mercedes. Now, many will believe that if Mercedes have a further problem, they will try to push through another technical directive, but I mean, at this stage, I think most people would just tell them to get on with it, and even with Toto agreeing that there is a major problem with the W14, it does look like they have figured out what was causing the issue, which begs the question, what was it? I've just seen the data and spoken to the drivers, and the main limiting factor today and yesterday was the bouncing. The car was bouncing on literally every straight. Even Blanchimont was a corner where Lewis had to lift, and that is an easy flat normally. You're bouncing on the straights, you overheat the tires and the braking, so it's a vicious cycle, and that was the main limiting factor this weekend, said Toto. Mercedes also bought a sizable upgrade package to Belgium, which featured further modifications to their side pod design and an updated floor to generate more downforce. And Mercedes boss Toto Wolff said the upgraded floor could have been the problem for the bouncing problems returning. I think the floor could have been the reason why we've been bouncing. We're going to see it in the data, and maybe there is something we need to fine-tune because I still believe the direction we are going in now is the right one, Wolff said. I'm sure the Mercedes team will take a deserved break for the summer break, but it looks like they will then be flat out to try and figure out exactly what's going on with the W14, because the pace looks like it could be there, but they just need to iron out some major problems. I mean, we don't see them challenging the Red Bull, but if they can start to get it right, then we may see the Mercedes be more competitive in 2024 and finally see some competitive racing. The Belgian Grand Prix finally saw the return to form of Sergio Perez, with the Mexican driver having a strong outing racing from P2 to, P2. Now, we are making a joke, but the Mexican started from second place and didn't stay behind the pole sitter Charles Leclerc for long. He explains the plan that he and his Red Bull team formed before the race. I knew that it was quite crucial for my race to get Charles Leclerc on lap 1. We had a good launch, but he also had a good start, so it was more about making sure that we got him into turn 5, and it worked well, and we were able to basically do our own race. Perez maintained a steady gap of just over 2 seconds to Max Verstappen once the Dutchman climbed P2, but as soon as they made the switch to medium tires, Perez lost out. I did struggle quite a bit on that medium tire, especially with the rain. I felt like I lost a bit of temperature on it. We really never got a good read on that tire. The conditions were very tricky at that point, Perez added. Such has been the toll of this season that Sergio Perez has said he needed to get some help to cope with it, and it just goes to show that F1 is tough, and possibly having someone as good and as ruthless as Max doesn't help. The Mexican driver said he needs the summer break after being drained after this F1 season, but also has a slight warning to the rest of the track and possibly Max Verstappen. It's been a bit of a rough patch, but we overcome, and today we managed to score great points for the team. I really need the summer break. It's been really intense for the last few races. I look forward to it, and I will come back very strong, voiced out the Red Bull driver. It's hardly a surprise given the rollercoaster ride that he's been on since the start of the season, but Perez promises to look at the data so we can find some improvements. It gives us a bit of time to go deep on our analysis, to see what we can improve for the next 10 races and basically keep up the momentum going until the end of the season, Perez concluded.